The days of walking up to a cute girl on the street and trying to flirt with her are soon to be doomed, and there's no apparent solution being provided. So what the heck are us guys supposed to do? Keep watching to find out. So today's video was inspired by an article that came out a few days ago about a post on a pickup forum in Melbourne, that's a city in Australia, outlining to men. It was a guide about where to go to hit on women in Melbourne. And, it was a guide of locations, the kinds of women you have in those locations, how you should go about flirting with women in those locations. You be direct, be indirect. If you like women to be, younger or older, or all these kinds of things. And, the post writer even talked about being sure not to approach like too many women at once, or too quickly, or too rapidly, or not to be too creepy about it because you'll draw attention. He talked about all these kinds of things. But of course, pickup language was used. Things like targets, sets, target rich, ranking women on a scale of 1 to 10, all this kind of stuff. And so, as you can imagine, the media went nuts, and they're like, this is disgusting. This is just sickening. How can men behave like this, like predators preying on women? And I'll post up some of the comments here that you can see while I'm talking as well, because they're pretty vehement. The women are pretty upset about it. And, my first reaction when I read an article like this, because I'm a dating coach, and so my first reaction is, dear society, what the hell do you expect? Right? You create a world in which men, the majority of men, are completely disempowered. They have nowhere to turn to if they don't have social skills. Right? We have a depression and the loneliness issue that men are leading the charge of. Men are so depressed and so lonely on average compared to women. Right? You just look at the figures, it's crazy. What do you expect is going to happen? Okay, men are going to band together and try to help each other get out of this muck because no one else is going to help them. That's my first response. And I think to some degree it's a fair response, because there's a problem for men, and men are trying to solve it for themselves. But I'm also aware that women aren't being crazy. So when women see this stuff, they're not just insanely just being childish. There is a problem for women too. A lot of men don't realize that life for a woman is one in which you do need to constantly be on alert for dangerous men. And I'm not suggesting all men are dangerous or most men are dangerous. It's not true. But every woman that you talk to has had really negative experiences around men and their sexuality, men and men's sexuality, right? So that could be, like a drunk guy in a bar, kind of not holding her, but like cornering her with his body in a bar, trying to hit on her, bad like breath, trying to like kiss her, and she's like trying to get away, and he's not taking the hint, and the whole thing feels a little bit threatening, a little bit scary, and all kinds of awkward and horrible, and wanting to escape. To, a lot of women have been assaulted one way or another by men. I mean, men do pose a threat. And again, it's not all men, but it's enough men that women in general, almost all women, if a woman walks into a car park at night, she's on alert for dangerous men. Most guys don't think twice. So this is the world that women live in. And it's not great and it's not ideal, and that should be fixed, but it's not fixed right now. And so women are on alert for men as it is. And the thought for women of all of a sudden, like men, like en masse are going to be talking to her. So women need to be doubly alert for guys. Women don't know whether the men who are going to approach them are going to be creepy or weird or a little bit rapey, right? Or whether they're going to be really nice guys who are just trying to improve themselves. Women don't know, because the truth is the pickup artist industry is full of really decent guys, but it's also got plenty of really creepy, weird guys jumping into it who are psychologically unhinged. It's got some of them as well, right? It does attract all kinds, to be fair. So from a woman's perspective, I understand the inherent threat in this, in men approaching this way. And then, so to take this a step further, I think to myself, all right, well, do women just have to learn to deal? And I think not necessarily. I've been a big fan of Greek philosophers for quite some time, and something that I read a few months ago really stuck with me, and that was the notion of, if you want to decide if something's immoral or not, right? If something's right or wrong, ask yourself, if everyone did this, would the world be a better or a worse place? So, stealing. If I steal, the world doesn't change much. If everyone steals, The world is a really difficult place to live. Therefore, stealing is immoral. So if I picture I guess, a utopia from the standpoint of a men's confidence coach like myself, where every man is empowered and confident enough to walk up and flirt with the women he really wants. If I picture that world, guys, I mean, in that world, a woman can't walk down the street without being hit on 50, 60, 70, 80 times, right? Because every guy who happens to be single is walking up and approaching the cute women he sees in his day-to-day life, right? That is untenable. As a society, you just can't do that because women couldn't get anywhere. I mean, they'd be constantly hit on. It'd be frustrating. And to be honest, it's already getting bad in certain cities. You know, my partner, she has a friend who, a lovely girl. We're not talking about a prude. We're not talking about an extreme feminist or anything like that. We're just talking about a regular cool chick. And she recently moved to New York for a while. And she was saying how horrible it is that she can't go anywhere without being hit on a lot by guys, stopped on the street and hit on. And it's getting really frustrating because she can't just get on with her day-to-day life and she's feeling constantly watched and constantly assessed, and it's really unpleasant. That's not what we want, right? I mean, we want to be better with women. All guys want to be better with women, but not at the expense of women's happiness either. That doesn't seem fair. And I don't believe most of you watching want that to happen. So what's the solution? Well, there's no solution being provided by the writers of these articles, right? That is where this is really why I hate articles like that one that inspired this video so much, is that they just complain about a problem and act as though men are horrible creatures, and they don't provide a solution. I read the article and I take the time to think about what the real problem is, and I really, really feel for women and the problem. I feel for men and I feel for women. So what is the solution? There is a solution, and the society will get to one. You know, if feminists get their way and men stop approaching women completely, women will start to have a loneliness epidemic and things will change, right? It will rebalance. It has to. But I'd rather it doesn't become like that because men already have it bad enough as it is. Honestly, I think that we need to enter into a phase where women start stepping up in the dating game. Right now, women play, at least in the Western world, almost like such a ridiculously passive role in dating. I mean, the number of times I'm coaching a guy and there's a girl next to him and she is clearly checking him out. And the second he looks in her direction, she pretends like he doesn't exist, like she hasn't noticed him. I mean, women are just they refuse to let on at all that they like a guy. And I think that needs to change, because if men don't know whether a woman likes them or not, they got to approach every woman to try to hit on her. That's a starting point, right? That's, you know, women's utopia. At the moment, what women want is they want men to just magically know if the woman's going to like him. That's what they actually want, right? Women want the cute guy in the office to hit on them. They don't want the ugly guy to flirt with them in the office, because that would be assault, right? That's kind of what's happening right now, and that can't work. So women, you're going to have to start letting men know. If you don't want this to happen, if you don't want a world in which men start just hitting on everything with a pulse and playing the numbers game, because we've got to play the numbers game. Most guys have to play the numbers game to find a girl who is going to be interested. So instead, if women stepped up en masse and started making clear that they like a guy, right? Or if women would start approaching guys, I know that's not what you want to do, but if women would start doing that, that would also solve this problem, right? Because then that'd be the status quo. It'd be the status quo that if a woman likes you, she's going to make that clear. You know, I've been to the Netherlands a few times. I'm Dutch originally. Not that you tell from my accent. But in the Netherlands, you talk to most women there and they'll say, what? If I like a guy, what? I'm supposed to wait for him to talk to me? No thanks. Like, I'm an adult too, you know. And they'll talk to the guy. They'll flirt with the guy. They'll put in the effort. That, I think, is kind of the society that we need to move towards. Because that will make it unnecessary for men to have to behave in this way. Because right now we're left with no choice on the whole. That's just how it is. And I think that's what we need to move to. I don't know if there are going to be many women that are watching this video, but I'd like to know what you men think. I'd like to know, do you agree with me? Is that what you'd like to see? Can you feel compassion for women when you read these articles? Are you capable of that? Because it's hard. It's hard to see women being so nasty towards men and at the same time have compassion for the sense that it's hard for women as well. Like, there's threat for women, from men doing pickup. Not the decent guys doing a decent job, but the guys who are learning make it awkward and making women's lives awkward and uncomfortable. let me know in the comments below. I mean, this is a bit of a rant, but I think it's an important one for a lot of guys to hear and consider and think about. Are there any other solutions that you think the world could use from a standpoint of men and women and removing this creepiness of the pickup artist industry? What's going to work? Let me know. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the little bell icon so you don't miss any of my future videos. I'm Damien. Have a fantastic week.